On Martin Luther King Day, this is what the president says. He says Trump vows to release JFK, RFK, and MLK assassination files in massive transparency push. Rob, is this the clip? Go ahead and play this clip, please.
And in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
By the way, you know what it takes to do that? It's a technical term that they use. And I want to get this right. Correct me, guys, because my English is not there. If I'm not saying it's like I think it's like a doctor medical term. It's called brass balls. Is what it takes to do that, because you know who is not going to be happy about releasing that? One organization. And what is that one organization?
Starts with the C?
CIA.
There you go. Tom. He says that, but now he's not saying this as a election, hey, vote for me because I'm going to release it. He's won. So him saying it, he's not saying it to try to make you happy because he wants your vote or anything. He's already won. That only happens pre-November 5th. Tom, what happens if he releases 100% of this? What is this going to do to the marketplace that's confused the hell out of who shot MLK, who shot Bobby, who shot John F. Kennedy? How explosive will this be?
It's going to be very explosive, but the question is, what is still in the archive? What is still there that can be released? Because the CIA has had a lot of time to scrub it and a lot of time to do it. And I'll give you one example. There is an incontrovertible fact that everyone agrees on, that a piece of Kennedy's skull that was forensically examined for bullet pathing. In other words, which direction did a bullet come from? It's like when a plane crashes, they take all the pieces and they put it back together. It's gruesome, it's terrible, but that's kind of what you have to do in an autopsy, especially an assassination investigation, looking at the body. What is the body telling you about what happened? Just like a plane crash where the plane's in a million pieces, they put it back together, they get the black box. That piece of that skull went missing within 3 years. Within 3 years, people went back to, after the Warren Commission, they said, we want to look at a couple more things here. Investigative committee said, yes, we can do that. They went in there, it's gone. So the question is, what will still be in the archive that will be releasable? What documents are still in the archive? Redacted documents that have been copies of copies of copies of copies. Is the original unredacted versions in there, or are you going to be looking at redacted copies? There's commentary that there are witness interviews in there, that there's no originals, and people that have done investigation have said that there's redacted copies. We don't have the originals. So the question is, what's going to be in there? However, it will be explosive as the American people come to realize, in my opinion, and the opinion of many people, that the Kennedy assassination was an absolute inside job. Oswald didn't act alone, and it was Johnson and the CIA. That is my opinion. That's what I read. There's so many people. That will be explosive. Equally explosive is the letters that were written to Martin Luther King by the CIA, and there have been two of those, I believe, that have been out. One in which they were encouraging him to commit suicide. They said, there's so much stuff that we're going to release on you and Ralph Abernathy. And you should do it, King. There's only one way out, King. Take yourself, King. That was written by our CIA. It says, unfortunately, through our FBI. They were, and I think these things will be explosive, but I think we get over it and move forward and say, okay, we did it to ourselves. This is horrifying. Now, how do we keep it from happening again? That's what I think. But I want to know what is still in the archive, because these people are very good at redirecting and protecting themselves.
Vinny.
I hope, Tom, because we've heard this the last time he was in, I'm going to do this, but then he changed his mind. The real thing is, what happens to these institutions? What happens to the CIA? What happens to the FBI when we find out definitively? Because we all have our opinions. Me and Rob talk about this all the time. I know me and you are pretty much on the same page. I know Pat floats around there, Adam. I don't know. I don't think you're as far in as we are. But I mean, trust for the government is the lowest it's ever been in the history of the country. Okay, so if that's a fact, and we find out, in fact, the CIA, maybe the FBI, the mob, whoever, they all had a hand in murdering a sitting president. Okay, murdering our president. then you have to question everything. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, 9/11. Who's to say? You lose all faith in every single thing that your organization has touched. That means either you have to get rid of this organization or there has to be some type of civilian over. I don't know what has to happen, Tom, because it's over. If the CIA was involved and we have documentation, it's over. It's done. It's treason, okay, at the highest level. And nobody's going to get held accountable, but they're all dead. Everybody's dead. But then everything else that was involved that adds questions, I want to get to the bottom.
I love it. I love. By the way, do you know what happens if they release this information, Adam? I want you to give your comment, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen if Trump actually releases this information. I'm going to give you a data that you're going to be shocked what I think will happen.
Okay.
My prediction. Okay. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, look, in descending order, everyone wants to know what happened to JFK. It was the Warren Commission that I think happened with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Lee Harvey Oswald. That's the thing. You know, there's a guy out there, you might have heard of him, PBD. He wrote this book, I believe it was called Choose Your Enemies Wisely, right?
I argue with him all the time.
Oh
But
my
he's a good
God.
guy.
I argue with him all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
especially his two buddies over there too. But great guy. Is this really the enemy you want to choose on day one? You want to go after the CIA? Is that really what you want to do? I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's the thing you want to do. So there's going to be a lot of people, the public, who'll be like, hell yeah, I want to know what the hell happened to JFK. I want to understand what happened to Bobby Kennedy, certainly his son, RFK, we've spent a ton of time with. I'd like to know what happened to MLK. I mean, in descending order that way. Lee Harvey Oswald, was it the one shooter? Grassy Knoll, what's going on? Warren Commission, who made that call? What was going on? CIA, Cuba, Castro, what was happening in there? Everyone wants to know. The second thing, Sirhan, I believe, was the guy that allegedly killed Bobby Kennedy. Correct me if I'm wrong. He went to jail. I think he just got released 60 years later, whatever the number is. I think Bobby Kennedy went and spoke with them, and after speaking with them said, yeah, I don't think this is the guy.
Yeah,
Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay. And then the coup de grace, MLK, I think this all happened, Kennedy was 63, MLK Bobby was 68, summer of 68. The guy that killed MLK was a guy called James Earl Ray. They caught him in Africa, Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. And you know what's interesting? After years in jail, he basically come out and said, guys, it wasn't me. The shaggy defense, we'll see what happens here. So he's denying that. If Trump does this, he's going to have a lot of credibility and a lot of enemies. So we'll see what happens here. By the way, the new CIA director, I believe, is John Radcliffe.
Amazing guy.
So he's coming in.
Yeah.
I think he was part of the National
Yeah.
Intelligence Security. And the guy on his way out was Bill Burns.
So here's what
We'll
I
see
think.
what happens.
Here's what I think is going to happen. Okay, number one, when you're saying is this the right enemy to choose? Yes, because let me tell you where Trump is at right now. You know where Trump's at? He's at the point of no return.
Yes.
What does that mean? They've already tried to kill him multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already crossed that path. And I don't know if you know what I'm saying when I'm saying he's crossed that path.
Of course.
He's in his mind. Again, this is my opinion. My opinion. When you flirt with death, and you know everybody handles the close call with death in a different way. And again, this is broken down, I think, in the book David and Goliath. Some people get so scared where they play defense their entire lives. Yep. Some people are shock mode. They're like, oh my God, what just happened? But they move on with their lives. But a few people believe the reason why you made it is because God's got a bigger plan for you. Like it's a calling. I'm called to do something great. Trump is in that mode. So what does that mean? He's willing to go after everybody because he thinks God's got his back. Did you hear in his inauguration when he said, here's how it works. God, let me say it again, God above all. And he said it the second time. And he says a guy told him, he says, well, you know, Mr. President, you know, the most beautiful words in a dictionary are God, religion, and love. He says, yeah, God, yes, number one. And religion is probably number two. And you know what? We have to love each other. I get number three. But the fourth best word in the dictionary is tariff, right? He's saying what he's saying about tariffs, right? But I'll tell you this. Him going here, you know what it's going to do to trust in the U.S. government? Skyrocket. Dropping what the U.S. government did in the past before to hide it from us is going to take this chart, and if you look at this chart closely, folks, it's going to skyrocket the trust in the U.S. government. Exposing the CIA is actually going to increase the trust in the U.S. government. How weird is that?
Weird.
I'm exposing the government and you trust the government more now? Yes. Because when we say government, what do you think about? When I'm having this conversation with my kids. When they say government, what do you think about? Actually, when the government is fraud, what do you think about? What does your mind go to when they say the government lies, the government lies, the government lies?
Washington,
But-
White House.
okay.
Like they're thinking about
But
it.
that's not true, though. So
That's
go
what
a
I'm saying,
little
what
more
they're
specific.
thinking,
Tom, what do you think about when people say, I don't trust the government? Who is the government? When people say, I don't trust the government, is it what government?
I think it's trickle,
I
right,
think,
Tom?
yeah, I think when people say, I don't trust the government, it's like, I don't trust what I'm being told. Well, what are you being told? Who is telling you?
That's the one right
It's
there.
our intelligence community. It's
Right.
our defense community.
Right.
When you have Norman Schwarzkopf stands up there and says, here's the pictures of all the blown up stuff. I could have gone all the way to Baghdad, but we didn't. America looks at that, satellite photos, Reuters out there and says, I guess our government's telling the truth. We could have killed Saddam Hussein. The other way is where you get the spin, you get the half-truths.
you know what it is,
You don't
Tom?
get the answer,
But
and then
that's-
people don't trust that.
So when people say, I don't trust the government, we have to isolate and qualify what that means.
Yeah.
When you say, I don't trust the government replace it with, I don't trust the government when it was being ran under XYZ leadership. That's what that means.
Yes.
So a person saying, I don't trust the government in 1964. Okay, I get it. Or 1962, 63. I get it. I don't trust the government under this. The government replaces with the leadership team of the president that was running it. If the president actually follows through and drops what happened with MLK, Robert Kennedy, and John F. Kennedy
MLK,
assassination
Robert
with the
Kennedy,
CIA, you're going to see that chart skyrocket when they run the poll of how much the American people trust the government. They're going to say, I trust the government, but replace the government. I trust Trump's administration, not the U.S. government as a blanket immunity statement. I trust the government, period. Under this administration, I think Trump has a shot on getting this thing to be a hockey stick to the roof, saying, holy shit, whether you like him or not, guess what? He's telling us what's going on, which is quite exciting. I'm going to go to the next story here.
I got to give you one little piece of information. I know you want to move on, but this is very
Be
important.
quick. Go for it.
Do you know when the term conspiracy theorist
Yes.
came into the
JFK.
nomenclature?
CIA.
It became right after the Warren Commission.
Right.
That's everyone's labeled that
Yeah.
these days, and now it traces back to that.
Right.
By the way, what did Chuck Schumer say to Donald Trump?
Yes. 7
When
days.
you go after the intelligence community, they got 6 ways this
Right.
Sunday to get after you.
Right.
So we're going to see what happens
So
if
let me
he,
go
if
to
he
the-
has radical transparency.
Yeah, so watch this here. Trump to suspend security clearances of 51 former CIA contractors who false implied Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian fake. This is another one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm just reading this story because I think it's important for the audience to hear this. And then we'll go to the next story here. President Donald Trump plans, President Donald Trump revoked the security clearance of the 51 intelligence officials who claim Hunter Biden's laptop had the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation before the 2020 election. A senior administration told that Fox News that this action was part of 200 executive orders. Spies who lie. Spies who lie. This is another reason why the people didn't trust the U.S. government. This is going to be a very, very unique era we're going through, and we're going to learn a lot the next 4 years. And like I said, in 2025, the year of surprises, the surprises are just getting warmed up. So if you think you're very good at predictions, don't forget, go to vtnews.ai, make your predictions. There's 100 days we're going to go through. I think we're barely on day 19 of different predictions being made. Obviously, it's day 2 today, but there's been 19 predictions so far. Go claim your predictions. The next 100 days, we're going to go through this on a weekly basis on a podcast. We're excited to see which one of you guys is going to be very good at making predictions. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.